Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I have something interesting to share with you today. So I have a deck of cards here, and this would be shuffled by a spectator in a room. This is something you would want to do with a handful or more of people. So a small group to a larger group of people in a room. And what we have here is a shuffled deck, and once it's been shuffled by somebody else, what we're going to do is we're going to set it down. And in a moment here, we're going to count some cards, right? But for the moment, we're going to leave it right here. We don't know what we're counting to quite yet. We're going to make some decisions as a group. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression of hive mind. A hive mind. We call it a hive mind because it's something we see in the insect world, where we have ants and bees and certain kinds of bugs that they kind of move around together. It's like they are thinking the same thing at the same time. There's a pattern of instinct and decision making that sort of waves itself through the group, and then they act in a very similar, in a kind of in concert, in a fashion where they're moving together and doing the same thing, and they have an agenda that they're working out together. We see this in birds as well, this kind of hive mind mentality. We're going to do this. We're going to try to pool our thinking together and come up with some information that we have consensus on, and then we'll see how that works out. What I want everyone to do is to think of just a value, a playing card value. That's ace through king. Don't worry about the suit or the color or anything, but just a value. In fact, I want you to think of maybe 2 or 3 different values right now, and then we'll share out and see what we come up with. So, for example, let's say that someone's thinking of the queen value. Maybe someone's thinking of the 4 value. Maybe someone else is thinking of the 9. Personally, I'm thinking of jack and 8 are the 2 that come to my mind. We have 2. Maybe someone else is thinking of 8, so that's a match with mine. I think we're going to want to use that. And then another 8. That's pretty strong, pretty powerful. And let's see, maybe one more here. Well, that's 2 more. We'll say 10 and 3. That's fine. So we're definitely going to use 8 because several people had that same kind of feeling. But let's pick a couple of other ones. Let's say we use 4 and maybe 10. So 4 and 10. So we have 10, 4, and 8. Now I want you to imagine these numbers kind of sitting up here, 10, 4, and 8. And I want someone to just reach out and imagine with your mind that you're taking 2 of them, the 10, the 4, and the 8. Let's say you take the 8 and the 4, right? So you're holding on to these numbers here, this 8 and this 4. I want you to give one of those back to me, the 8 or the 4. Which one do you want to give back? And so you give me back the 4. So that leaves us here with this 4 is the value that we're all thinking of. 4 is what we have consensus on through our decisions here. So think about 4. Now, we also need to have a suit to go with this. So think in your mind about a deck of cards, and let's take this person over here. You're thinking of a box of cards, and what I want you to do is take out either the red cards or the black cards. Which color do you want to take out of the deck? So you take out the black cards. So you take the black cards out, remove them, and that leaves you there with red cards inside the deck. You have hearts and diamonds. You want to spread those in front of you. Imagine you have hearts and diamonds right there, and we need you to pick one of them out, either the hearts or the diamonds. Which would you like to pick out? Let's say you pick out the diamonds. So we're going to take out the diamonds, and you're holding those now in your hand. And what was the value we had before was 4, right? So we have 4 of diamonds. 4 of diamonds. So we're kind of bringing together our collective efforts here and coming up with a card, 4 of diamonds. I want everybody to think of numbers. So there's 52 options in here in the deck. You can think of 52 numbers in total. Probably better if it's a higher number, but I want you to really be free and think of several numbers, 1 through 52, and we'll share out. So imagine someone's thinking of 11. Maybe someone's thinking of, I don't know, well, we have there 5 and 6 together is also 11. So we'll just say 5 and 6. Maybe someone's thinking of 45, right? Maybe someone is thinking of 15, right? Maybe someone's thinking of, well, it's just 45 again. Let's see, I don't know if we had 10 in there or not, right? Maybe someone's thinking of something else. Maybe there's that 15 again, or 51. maybe is a possibility. Now, from all these numbers, we need to get some consensus on one. So we'll kind of take a quick poll on these and see if we have people that have thought of the same numbers, or if we need to, we'll just take some consensus on, say, 15, 51, 10, and 11. 15, 51, 10, 11. We take some votes, and eventually, through our crowdsourcing, we come down to, let's say, 15. So 15. We have 4 of diamonds, and we have 15, and the cards are sitting right there. Nobody's done anything to them. They were shuffled. They were set right there. Since they've been sitting there, we've come up with these identities together as a group. And let's just see what we find here. So 15 cards is what we're talking about, right? So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and this is 15 right here. This is 15. Now I want someone to hold on to this packet, and I just want to show, see if we can see what we have left in the deck here. There's a 4 of hearts, but no 4 of diamonds. Go ahead and turn the packet over and see what we find. 4 of diamonds. So this is, I call this hive mind. I've actually written about this before, and there's probably several ways to go about it. I'm bringing this up because this is true jazzing with a shuffle deck, really in the truest sense of it. When you think about improvisation with a memorized deck, you're dealing with a preset order of cards and finding outs or having a vocabulary of outs to get to one of those cards if it's called out or thought of or brought into the equation, right? In this case, we're kind of working inside out from there. We are working with a vocabulary, but it's a vocabulary of control based on what we are given in the moment. So once the cards are shuffled, you have a couple of options. You can either get a glimpse of an accessible card on the bottom, or you can get a glimpse of a card on the top. And I've written about this and have taught about this as using the bubble peak that we've already looked at. Getting a glimpse of the top card as you take them back and say thank you, and you look at it and you catch its Jack of Diamonds here. And the way that I did it here, although this doesn't have to be the way you do it, is you say, in a moment, we're going to count some cards. And what I'm doing is I'm reverse counting to get that Jack of Diamonds 3rd or 4th from the top. And then I put them back. And then I very innocently set them down. But for now, we're going to leave the cards there. What I need to do is I need to now force the Jack of Diamonds. Before we get into that, we don't have to reveal in this way. Eventually, we're going to end in a spread call force, which is a favorite of mine, and we've already used it here in this little series. But you could end this with a bottom deal, if you have a pretty good passable bottom deal, because you can just glimpse the bottom card and set it down and force that one, and then bottom deal it at the right number. That's a possibility as well. You could also use something like the Shinobi control, which is a card switch in the action of counting and turning a card over. I think it was actually a Larry Jennings idea originally, and then it was borrowed by some other folks and kind of republished with a different name. But essentially, it's a turnover substitution that you can use to do this as well, and that would control the top card into place. So you could get a glimpse of the top card and really not do anything else with it. Just set it down and use that control. That's a possibility as well. I'm not going to teach it here, but that's a possibility. So I need to force my Jack of Diamonds. So here's the thinking on this. Nobody at this point should know anything about the deck, least of all the performer, because the performer really has no control. The cards have been shuffled, and seemingly they're being given back. The performer's doing absolutely nothing with them, and they're being set down, and that's where they stay. So the nice thing about this is that if you come up really dry on what people are recommending, because we need to get the Jack to show up so that we can incorporate it into a 3-card equivoque, 3-identity equivoque, which you just watch the performance, and that makes sense. Should make sense to you by this point on this channel. If no one mentions it, you can bring it up. Now, the way that I recommend doing this is that you mention like 3 different identities. Put a little more weight on one of them that you're going to throw out, but make sure that you use one of your identities along with a couple of others. Now, the nice thing about this is that when you have a bunch of people thinking about 13 limited identities, there is a pretty high probability that somebody is going to name the Jack. It's just oversaturation, saturation of choices. There's only 13 to choose from. If you have a handful of people, 4 or 5 people or 6, 7 people, and they're all naming 2 or 3 options, there is a very high probability that the one you need is going to get named. Not only that, there's even a possibility that more than one person will name it, and it doesn't have to come from you. The nice thing about this too is that if someone brings up Jack, you could bring up 2 or 3 other things that you don't need, and be really strong and adamant about them, and eventually they don't get used. You don't even use them. You only use what the spectators bring up. So you can really kind of poison the well with the use of your choices that are irrelevant. So there is kind of a really good case scenario there where somebody names what you need, and you don't have to necessarily use that, but you bring in some other ideas that don't get used. It's a very powerful aspect of the illusion of choice, right? So just to demonstrate this saturation idea, we're going for Jack. Someone might say 8. Someone might say 6. And this is only 2 options. So if everyone's thinking of 2 or 3, right, someone might say ace, 10, 3, 9. So I just point out here, we haven't had any repeats yet. This is oversaturation. There's only 13 options, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different. We have almost half of the options covered, just in a matter of 2 people giving their choices out there. There's our hit, and this is not coming from me. And then I might recommend that and say, you were thinking of Jack, I thought of that one too. That's another possibility. Rather than give 3 random ones, you could, emphasize one that was chosen. But we have Jack shown up already twice. Now what you're doing is you're going to pick from these, and you can just arbitrate over this. You can say, well, the Jack was brought up twice. You got to use that one. You definitely want to. Let's use 4 and 8. I didn't feel very strongly about any of mine. I'll throw mine out. Or you can say, I felt really strong about 8, but that's coming from me. So let's just use Jack, right? This is all part of the psychology and the salesmanship of the moment, right? You are just convincing people that there's a wide variety of random choice, but really you're working with oversaturation to get to 3 options that you can do equivocate from. So now for your equivocate, I firmly believe in the take 2, give 1 back method for 3 item equivocate. So you have 3 things up there. You say, someone take away 2. If they take away the 2 ones that you're not going to need, that leaves you with the 1, and it's a perfect ending after 1 choice. If they take away the 1 plus another that you need, Jack and 8 or something like that, you say give 1 back. If they give back the Jack, well, then you go with the Jack. If they give back the 8, say that leaves you with the Jack. Let's use Jack. Now for the suit, we need Jack of diamonds. So for the suit, you do, again, equivocate, 2-question equivocate from a phantom deck, right? An invisible card box. So you say, we have a deck of cards in the box. Imagine that you're going to remove either all the black cards or all the red cards. We want to end with red. I've taught this a million times before. They say, I'll remove the red ones. Say, great. So take those out and put them up in front of you. If they remove the black ones, you say, great, we'll remove them. That leaves you then, the box has red. So let's look at those in front of you, right? Then the next question is, which would you like to pick out? Either the diamonds or the hearts. What would you like to pick out? So pick out is like remove. Pick out could be pick out to keep or pick out to remove and take out. okay? So I say, what would you like to pick out? They say the diamond. Say, great. So you pick out all the diamonds, and you have those now in your hand. Now go through there and find the jack. And now we have the jack of diamonds. So that's how you get it. Now the number doesn't matter. The number can be any number at all, especially if your method is using the top card, a substitution that Larry Jennings or that Shinobi Control kind of thing. They really could just pick 1 through 51. It really wouldn't matter. Same thing if it's a bottom deal revelation. If you're doing a bottom deal, it could be any number, because you could theoretically have a top card and then just swap it in with a bottom deal removal. You could do it that way, or if you're doing as we're doing here, where it's the 4th card in and I need to cull it into place, you could just try to get people to choose from numbers that are above, let's say 10, right? It really just needs to be 4 and up, but you can give yourself a little bit of a margin for the call. So the nice thing about this is that people are going to throw out a bunch of numbers, and you can just take the ones that are usable. You don't have to really pigeonhole everybody into picking something above a certain amount or below a certain amount. You could just let people name any numbers they want, and steer everybody to pick from only a small set of numbers that is well within past the range of 4. So that's another management there. Again, it's saturation of choices. It seems like there's a lot of opportunity for choice, but the truth is that when there's an oversaturation of options, the amount of choice decreases significantly. It's a great tactic. And again, because of the premise, nobody knows anything about the deck. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to really get involved and even get involved and throw out your own ideas and get them incorporated into the scenario and situation. The premise is that this is a hive mind thing. We're doing this together. And I get to put my input in there as well. But I don't have control. Now, obviously, the solution is that they get a number. Let's say it's 13. You count 1, 2, 3, call, 5, 6, 7. And no matter what, when you get down to it, you're going to end up with the card that was forced at a free number. So let me talk about the psychology here of what's going on. What we're doing is we're surrounding the force of the card with an absolutely true choice on the number. I call this creating a shell of truth. It's a tactic that I believe in, where you can arbitrarily control the outcome as long as there is this outer shell of absolute freedom. And that shell is in the number selection. They really are picking the numbers. I don't have any control over it. Okay, I can increase the shell of truth as well if I am willing to pretend as if I had very strong feelings about a suit or a number, and my strong feelings were not heard, right? If we get down to diamonds and say, I was thinking of clubs at the beginning of this. I was certain we would get a black one, right? I can say that. Or, on the other hand, when you have absolutely free selection of a number, let's say in the end 15 is the number that's chosen, you can say, at the very beginning of this, I was feeling strongly about 15. That's what I was thinking as well. And what I'm doing, again, is poisoning the well a bit. I am putting my influence on the thing that was actually free. And they know it was free. They know that I didn't influence that. It was a clear poll. It was somebody else's number, and they voted on it, right? But I can imply that that's the number I wanted, and it really muddles up the perception of everything. This is a really fun thing to do. So simple, so easy, but it's true jazzing. This is true improvisation, because you never know what you're going to get. Keeps you on your toes. You have to use the tactics available to you. There's a ton of interaction, a lot of decision making. There can even be some fighting and argument about what people use, right? So what do you do if people are adamant that you don't use the outcome? You can say, you have a couple of options. You can say, fine, let's not use that, but I want everyone to remember this moment that we chose not to use it. Because what you can do is, in the end, you can have the wrong card selected. You can go to that number, and it ends up being the one that everybody threw out. and you can say, oh, that was the one. Remember, we argued about that. We went the wrong way. It should have been that one, right? And you can get away with that because, again, nobody is supposed to know anything about the cards. You got a peek. That is it. There's nothing else going on here, depending on how you want to control it. The cards were shuffled. They were set down. Nobody knows anything. There's no way that you could even know what the top card was or any other card in the deck. You shouldn't know anything about it. So you're free and clear, no matter how it goes. You just want to put some weight on the right choice so that if people are adamant that they not use it, you can always return back to that choice later on at the end. Really fun idea. Hopefully you give it a chance and try this out. Go through the equivocate choices and these the forces on the card that you need to use. Practice those. Practice the alternative ways that it can come out. Feel free to throw out there, information that isn't brought up. If they don't name that value, then it's going to have to come from you in order to get in there. So practice ways in which you can subtly get that chosen. Again, name 3. Say, I feel very strongly about 4, but maybe we shouldn't use that one because of that. We'll go with the Jack and your 4 and your 10, or your 3 and your 10, or something like that. Okay, so things to think about. Jazzing with a shuffled deck, really true improvisation based on whatever information you get handed. Bottom card, top card, get a peek, get a glimpse. You have an identity, force it back. Put it at a location. You don't even have to do that. You could have people cut, right? You could have people down under deal. There's other ways that you can get to it. You go to the last video and you can do this, take those away, right? There's a lot of ways that you can get down to that card that everybody has consensus on. There might even be different ways that you could force that card out as well. So a lot of options there to you. In terms of true improvisation, this is not just merely a trick with a deck of cards. The cards as they are shuffled dictate what you do, and you have to improvise around it. So anyway, good luck with that. Happy magicking.